So first I'm going to walk you guys through my journey of how I learned Korean from the beginning. I signed up to go to Japan with Rotary Youth Exchange in 2015, like 6 years ago. Yeah, so I found out I was going to go to Korea about 5 months before I left for Korea, so that was kind of, I guess, enough time. When I found out I was coming to Korea, I started studying Korean and listening to K-pop and figuring out exactly what this country is about. From then on, I used this book to learn Korean, and I used to like 17, 16-year-old me would just walk to the Koreatown next to my house, and I would sit and buy some Korean food, normally sundubujigae, and I would eat that for way too long and sit there and study my Korean book. I would go there during the not busy hours,
so I thought it was okay.
Yeah, and I also asked them for a job, but they said no. So I would use that book to study grammar, and then I would also use TTMIK. So I got about to level 8. I would listen to the MP3 audios a lot, and I also use the PDFs, but normally now I only use the PDF and I skip the audio. So when you're a beginner, I really recommend listening to the audio lessons every single time on the MP3 on TTMIK website, because all of their content is totally free. And finally, one thing I really did a lot to learn Japanese, and now I'm using to learn Korean, is having a Skype class. So when I went to Japan in high school, I met a guy. His name was. We would talk on Skype a couple times a week in Japanese. I didn't know it at the time, but I think I practiced and learned a lot of Japanese from that experience. So I recommend using Skype and having online lessons if you can. If not, then just try to find a pen pal on Hello Talk or something like that, so you can get to talking with people, because texting and talking is really beneficial. So when you're first starting out, I recommend studying grammar and vocab. And when you study grammar, make sure you use a book that is entirely in your native language. Even at the advanced level, I prefer using books that explain the grammar points in English, just because it's complicated and it takes extra time if I have to read it in Korean, and that's just a waste of time because I'm not learning anything if I'm studying grammar words. Recommend studying that alone. You don't need to sign up for a class or anything to learn that. I think it's easiest just to learn that on your own. Maybe 1 or 2 grammar points a week that you can use when you are talking to people. And then during the Skype lessons, or the Skype dates, if you can call it that, you can use the grammar that you learned. So we're learning 1 or 2, not a lot, 1 or 2 grammar points per week is enough for you to slowly build the language level that you want. One other thing that I do is I read books in the language that I'm learning. So I often read Harry Potter. I'm reading Harry Potter right now. I have a book on Korean emotions. It's a kid's book and I think it's really cute. When you see a word that you don't know, then you can search it and you can write it on the side of the book, and then don't put it right next to the word that you don't know. Put it on the side, so that way when you're reading, you're like, oh, what was it? Think about it. Oh, I don't remember. Okay, look at the margin. If you do know it, then you can keep reading. Same word is going to come up again and again and again. You're like, oh, I know it, I know it, I know it. Now eventually you really get it. Same thing with speaking. Speaking is the same thing. You hear the same word a few times, you search it, oh, you hear it again, what was it? I don't remember, so you search it again, and third time you hear it, oh, that's the word that I searched like yesterday. Okay, that's the word, that's this. So then you're gonna remember it for forever. That's how language learning generally works. If you want to improve your listening and accent training, this is the hardest part of the Korean language in my opinion, because just the sounds are so different, and Koreans don't really understand you if your accent is a little bit different. I remember so many times I'm trying to order a bagel. I don't know what it is about the word bagel, but Koreans can't understand me when I say bagel. So if I say bagel, 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 no matter how I say it, bagel. Ah, bagel! Your accent is incredibly important. I recommend watching YouTube. YouTube is really good for slang. I love this YouTuber called Glam, and you get to watch people go on dates and show fashion as well. Just the language that they use is very trendy. So if you want to learn young slang, I recommend Glam. If that's not your thing, just watch any kind of YouTuber. And then you can read it, you can search the words you don't know, you can watch it again and again and again until you kind of can understand without searching the words that you don't know. Next, I want to talk about the benefits of Korean dramas. A lot of people watch Korean dramas and they learn the language that way, but I just want to talk about kind of an extra benefit. Because if anyone is making fun of you for watching so many Korean dramas, don't stop, just keep going. Because the people with the best Korean accent have watched a ton of dramas. I'm kind of regretting right now. Like, I really wish I had watched more K-dramas. I watched some when I was a teenager, but I stopped when I came to Korea because, I already live here. Like, why would I need to practice hearing Korean? If you want to learn more advanced grammar structures and more difficult Korean words, dramas are the way to go. YouTube is more trendy and easy vocabulary, I think. When you're watching Netflix, you should kind of pause it, listen, repeat, listen, repeat, listen, repeat. Keep going, listen, repeat. Kind of try to match their intonation and accent exactly perfectly, and that will help you kind of improve that hearing training and the shapes that your mouth is supposed to make when you speak in Korean, especially if you use a big voice. Something about my students when I teach English is the people that use a very small voice when they talk. They can't pronounce English. Same with Korean. When you speak in Korean, the accent is very exact. When you don't say oo, you say oo. When you say oh, you say oh. So if you want to make these perfect sounds, you need to kind of you need to over-exaggerate these shapes. And you can only do that if you speak very clearly and loudly and confidently, and you can make these oh shapes. Make sure you're over-exaggerating every single sound that you make. Okay? Next thing I recommend is webtoons. Because if you really want to be Korean, if you really want to get into the Korean culture, you gotta be reading the webtoons. If you go on naverwebtoon.com, you can see a bunch of different webtoons from different genres, and if you read those, they're really conversational based. It's just conversation text, right? Although I think the level is quite advanced for webtoons, so I recommend intermediate or upper levels to read the webtoons. But if it's a little bit hard for you, you can also read kids versions, and then you can learn a lot of cute vocabulary, and from books of course, but comics are good for like cute and over-exaggerated sounds and sound effects. Here are some different websites I also like to use. Korean Class 101, they have a lot of really interesting vocabulary, lessons, grammar, everything is explained in English. If it's not your native language, maybe look somewhere else, but it's not too hard to understand. Here I'm going to put up a couple of books that I really like for reading and practicing vocabulary, although I just have to recommend I'm kind of advanced level, so I think if you look for more basic levels of these similar publishers and books, you'll find a lot of benefit, because I did. And here I'm going to show you guys a short clip of my Korean level about 1 year after I had studied in Korea, and I notice now that the reason why they're laughing at me when I say 보고 싶을게요 is because it's wrong. I promise to miss you is a really strange thing to say. I will miss you is correct, right?
우리가 7월에 미국 가야 되니까 많이 보고 싶을게요. 그래서 친구한테 많이 배웠었어. 많이 가르쳐줬어. 감사합니다.
Really like nowadays is Learn Korean with Oliver. This is a website that you can send little essays and they'll correct them for you. They also send you daily emails, and I'm always excited to read the emails because I feel like I kind of remember them really well. If I read them in the morning, it's just one sentence. And I've learned quite a few words from. And if you do all of these things, and you will be able to learn and develop your Korean no matter where you live. I wish you guys best of luck in your Korean studies. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I'll be posting my college entrance exam essays soon, so be looking forward to that, because I'm going to show you my deepest personal writing style. And happy Lunar New Year, because it's Lunar New Year here. And like and subscribe, and if you have any other video ideas or things you want to know about Korean life, then put them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.